Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotra Shata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotra Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupad. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, entitled The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter number 5, The Cause of All Causes, text number 17. Tasyapi drashtur ishasya kurta sthasyakilatmanaha srijami srishto aham ikshayaiva bhichoditaha tasyapi drashturishasya kutasthasyakilatmanaha kutasthasyakilatmanaha srijami srishtoham srijami srishtoham ikshayaiva bhichoditaha tasyapi drashturishasya kutasthasyakilatmanaha srijami srishtoham ikshayaiva bhichoditaha tasyapi drashturishasya kutasthasyakilatmanaha srijami srishtoham ikshayaiva bhichoditaha. Please repeat. Kilatmanaha srijami srishtoham ikshayaiva bhichoditaha tasyapi drashturishasya kutasthasyaatmanaha srijami srishtoham ikshayaiva bhichoditaha tasyam drashturishasya kutasthasyakilatmanaha srijami srishtoham ikshayaiva bhichoditaha. Mataji. Tasyapi drashturishasya kutasthasyakilatmanaha srijami srishtoham ikshayaiva bhichoditaha tasya his api certainly drashtuhu of the seer Ishasya, of the controller. Kutasthasya, of the one who is over everyone's intelligence. Akhila Atmanaha, of the supersoul. Srijam, that which is already created. Srijami, do I discover. Srishtaha, created. Aham, myself. Ikshaya, by glancing over. Eva, exactly. Abhichoditaha, being inspired by him. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Inspired by him only, I discover what is already created by him, Narayana, under his supervision as the all-pervading supersoul, and I also am created by him only. Purport. Even Brahma, the creator of the universe, admits that he is not the actual creator, but is simply inspired by Lord Narayana, and therefore creates under his superintendence those things already created by him, the supersoul of all living entities. Two identities of soul, the supersoul and the individual soul, are admitted to be in the living entity, even by the greatest authority of the universe. The supersoul is the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, whereas the individual soul is the eternal servitor of the Lord. The Lord inspires the individual soul to create what is already created by the Lord, and by the goodwill of the Lord, a discoverer of something in the world is accredited as the discoverer. It is said that Columbus discovered the Western Hemisphere, but actually the tract of land was not created by Columbus. The vast tract of land was already there by the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord, and Columbus, by dint of his past service unto the Lord, was blessed with the credit of discovering America. Similarly, no one can create anything without the sanction of the Lord, since everyone sees according to his ability. This ability is also awarded by the Lord according to one's willingness to render service unto the Lord. One must therefore be voluntarily willing to render service unto the Lord, and thus the Lord will empower the doer in proportion to his surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Lord Brahma is a great devotee of the Lord, therefore he has been empowered or inspired by the Lord to create such a universe as the one manifested before us. The Lord also inspired Arjuna to fight in the field of Kurukshetra as follows. Tasmat tvang utishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhunkshva rajam samriddham mayai vaite nihatah purvameva nimitta matram bhavasavyasachin. Bhagavad Gita 11:33. The battle of Kurukshetra, or any other battle at any place or at any time, is made by the will of the Lord. For no one can arrange such mass annihilation without the sanction of the Lord. The party of Duryodhana insulted Draupadi, a great devotee of Krishna, and she appealed to the Lord as well as to all the silent observers of this unwarranted insult. Arjuna was then advised by the Lord to fight and take credit, otherwise the party of Duryodhana would be killed anyway by the will of the Lord. So Arjuna was advised to become the agent and take the credit for killing great generals like Bhishma and Karna. In the Vedic writings such as Kathopanishad, the Lord is described as the Sarva Bhuta Antaratma, or the personality of a Godhead who resides in everyone's body and who directs everything for one who is a soul surrendered unto him. Those who are not surrendered souls are put under the care of the material nature. Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantrarudhani Mayaya. Therefore, they are allowed to do things on their own account and suffer the consequences themselves. Devotees like Brahma and Arjuna do not do anything on their own account, but as fully surrendered souls, they always await indications from the Lord. Therefore, they attempt to do something which appears very wonderful to ordinary men. One of the Lord's names is Urukrama, or one whose actions are very wonderful and are beyond the imagination of the living being. So the actions of his devotees sometimes appear very wonderful due to the direction of the Lord. Beginning from Brahma, the topmost intelligent living entity within the universe, down to the smallest ant, every living entity's intelligence is overseen by the Lord in his transcendental position as the witness of all actions. The subtle presence of the Lord is felt by the intelligent man who can study the psychic effects of thinking, feeling, and willing. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamahyam Darati Svaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatah Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagara Raghuna Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savarhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Tasyapi Drashturi Shasya Kutasthasyakilatmanah Srijam Srijami Srishtoham Mikshayavabhichoditaha. Inspired by him only, I discover what is already created by him, Narayana, under his supervision as the all-pervading supersoul. And I also am created by him only. So the context of this verse is that after a series of queries presented by Narada Muni to his father, Lord Brahma, about the source of his power and the nature of the creation of the material universe, Lord Brahma is now speaking about how Lord Narayana, how Krishna is actually the source of his power and the source of his creative energy. And one thing that's interesting to note is that from the very beginning, neither Narada Muni nor Brahma was entertaining any kind of idea of impersonal creation of the universe or any kind of impersonal conception of the absolute truth. Neither was Narada Muni asking like this, and neither was Lord Brahma explaining in this way that everything is coming from an impersonal source. Nonetheless, in modern day, with all these new scientists and different philosophies and theories about the nature of the universe, the conclusion of most people is that it's originating from an impersonal source. But that's not something that you'll find in the Vedic literature, specifically the Srimad Bhagavatam. All throughout the Bhagavatam, you won't find any kind of description of like impersonal absolute truth being entertained at all within the whole Bhagavatam, what to speak of these two devotees talking with each other. So from the very beginning, we're talking about personal interaction. We're talking about Lord Brahma, who is a person who is considered to be the creator of this entire universe. And then above him is also a person, and that person is Krishna. And Lord Brahma is gradually explaining that. He just glorified Lord Narayana in a few different ways. He offered his prayers unto Vishnu. And then later on in this chapter, he'll actually explain how Lord Vishnu empowered him with the ability to create the entire cosmic manifestation, which we see all around us. So Lord Brahma it's already been established that he is subordinate to somebody. And this was kind of obvious to Narada because of the fact that in order to get the power to create, Lord Brahma had to meditate upon something. Lord Brahma had to perform tapasya or austerity. But someone who is supreme and someone who is the reservoir of all power and all creation, they wouldn't have to do such a thing. So Narada Muni, he thought that it was very obvious that Lord Brahma actually wasn't the supreme, even though many times Lord Brahma is glorified as being the creator of the whole universe. And this is explained in this chapter how Lord Brahma is actually acting as a servant of Krishna in his service of creating the entire cosmic manifestation. So, like I was saying, the impersonal understanding is that everything that we see in this material world is stemming from an impersonal source, or like the material nature itself is the cause of everything around us, including our very selves, including everything that's living, everything that's moving and non-moving. All of this is ultimately springing forward from an impersonal source. And Prabhupada gives an interesting example in the Bhagavad Gita where scorpions, they seem to be born from a pile of rice. And to a bystander, it might seem like the rice is giving birth to the scorpions, but actually a mother has to go in there and lay the eggs in order for the scorpions to come out. And so similarly, Lord Krishna, he lays the eggs of this cosmic manifestation, both with his material energy and his spiritual energy. And in the combination of these two, then the whole universe is created. So for someone who is not educated, and for someone who is using the ascending process of gathering knowledge, it might seem like this material world is being born from the material energy. But one who is in knowledge, they can see that all of this is being manifested by the divine will of Lord Krishna. And he does this through his different representatives, known as the demigods. And Lord Brahma is considered to be the foremost, the original, and the supreme demigod in many cases. Sometimes Lord Shiva is also considered to be the chief demigod. But for all intents and purposes, we can understand that Lord Brahma is the chief demigod because he is the first created living entity. And he is actually considered to be the highest authority and the highest person in this material world. And in order to have the post as Lord Brahma, you have to not only be a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but you have to perform so many pious activities in the past. And then according to your karma, if you reach such a level as being Lord Brahma, then you can become empowered with the potency to create the entire universe. And we understand that this universe that we are in right now, our Brahma has 4 heads, but there are the number 4 heads, not 4 heads, but there's so many other universes where their Lord Brahmas have 100 heads, 1,000 heads, 1,000,000 heads, 1,000,000,000 heads, and these universes are so much bigger. So it's actually we actually understand that this universe that we're in right now is of the smallest category. It's of the most simple category, and just see how complicated it is. And for such a person to create such a thing, they must be very intelligent. And Lord Brahma is the embodiment of intelligence. His very existence is made cent% of intelligence. And he is the empowered incarnation which has been given the power to create all moving and non-moving entities within this material world. So this can only be realized by knowledge which is descending from a higher platform, knowledge which is being given by someone who can see the truth, not one who speculates and formulates his own ideas about the cause of creation, but one who actually sees it and knows it in truth. And then such a person can be authorized to teach such knowledge. And this type of person is very rare in this material world. Not everyone understands the nature of the creation of the universe, and so many people have their ideas about it. But the Prabhupada writes in his purport that the supreme authority in this regard is Lord Brahma himself, because he is that creator. He is the one who is creating the material universe. Nonetheless, he doesn't take credit for it, and he does this in many different instances where he gives credit to Krishna, to Vishnu, but specifically here. And then another thing that came to mind was in this pastime of Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni. And Durvasa Muni was running from the Sudarshan Chakra, and he was going to take shelter at different various demigods and things like this. And he approaches Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma actually, it's a very similar thing where Lord Brahma is actually telling, actually, I'm not the supreme, if you really want to get free from all birth, death, old age, and disease, then you have to approach Lord Vishnu, you have to approach Krishna. So this is, Lord Brahma is always eagerly awaiting an opportunity to glorify his worshipable Lord, Sri Krishna. And this is the case with all devotees. Any devotee who does something amazing, or any devotee who doesn't do something amazing, they're always eager to give all the credit to their spiritual master and to Krishna. So this is the mood of a devotee. And we are fortunate enough to be in a universe where our Lord Brahma is a pure devotee of the Lord. And to be a demigod, what to speak of Lord Brahma, you have to be a devotee of some sorts to Krishna. But in many cases, the devotees are called sakama bhaktas, which means that they're performing devotional service, but they're coveting their own material desires on the side. They know that the best thing to do is to worship God, but if God can give them a little something in return for their material sense gratification, then that's the best. And then we see in many different pastimes of the demigods being bewildered by Krishna, or the demigods getting into a little bit of trouble because of this, because of their material desires. But the point is that to be a demigod, you have to be a devotee of Krishna to some extent. But to be Lord Brahma, you have to be the most pious. You have to be, of all of the demigods, Lord Brahma is considered to be the most pious because he has the topmost position. He's the head of all of the demigods. Nonetheless, you can also understand Lord Brahma to be the most materialistic because he has such a strong desire to be the Lord and Master of everything that he has been given, based on his karmic qualification, he has been given the potency to create an entire universe and be the father of every living entity within the universe. So there's different understandings that Lord Brahma is very pious, that he is a devotee of Krishna, but there's also this understanding that Lord Brahma is considered to be the most materialistic person in the whole entire universe. But specifically in our universe, we're very fortunate because our Lord Brahma is a pure devotee. And what does this mean? It means that he gives all credit to Krishna. He sees where his power is coming from, and whenever he acts in his service to Krishna, he always is remembering what is the purpose of this service. It's never to satisfy his own senses, it's to serve Krishna. And this isn't understood by all demigods, and this isn't understood by all Lord Brahmas and other universes, but it is understood in our universe. And because of this, there are so many nice arrangements by which the living entities in this material universe can engage in the devotional service of Lord Krishna. Lord Brahma being the founding acharya of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, which we are coming in line from, he has given facilitation to so many living entities to go back to Godhead in this material world that we are in right now. So for this reason, he is considered to be the topmost devotee. He is considered to be our acharya. So in this way, Lord Brahma creates the material universe with the inspiration that has been given to him by Lord Krishna. Those who are not devotees of the Supreme Lord, they're also getting inspiration, from within. But Srila Prabhupada is explaining that inspiration is actually coming from Maya. That inspiration is on the platform of illusion, and that inspiration is actually taking them further away from Krishna. But because Lord Brahma is taking inspiration to create the material universe from the inspiration of the Paramatma, or from the Supreme Lord within his heart, then he is empowered to do so many wonderful things. And whenever he follows with the plan of Krishna and doesn't try to endeavor on his own plan, then we see that he is successful in all endeavors. So this is a very important point to understand. And anyways, Prabhupada talks about that a little bit later on in the purport. But another point that is made early on is that that Columbus is credited with discovering or creating the entire Western Hemisphere, but the ingredients for all of that was already there. Everything was already there, but because of Columbus's devotion to Krishna, actually, is what Prabhupada is explaining. He has been given the opportunity to be glorified as the person who discovers America. So similarly, Lord Brahma, because of his pious activity in the past and because of his devotion to Krishna, he's been given such a high position. And this position is not for everybody. And in fact, sometimes in the material world, whenever one of the Lord Brahmas gets liberated and goes back to Godhead, there's a vacancy in that post. And if there's not another person who's qualified to become the next Lord Brahma, then Lord Krishna actually has to do it himself. He incarnates himself. So this is something which is very, very special. And it's interesting that that Columbus is actually, Prabhupada explains that he is known as the one who discovered America because of his previous service to Lord Krishna, because of his previous pious activity. And actually, another interesting point is that Columbus was a contemporary of Lord Chaitanya. And when you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll read that whenever all of the living beings which were present, all the moving living beings that were present in the material universe, whenever Lord Chaitanya was here, they all achieved liberation after that one life. So Columbus is somewhere in the spiritual world. And he's also still famous as being the person who discovered America. And we were just talking about it the other day during breakfast that actually there was some like tribe of Vikings that discovered like the Canadian like region way before Columbus even came about. And so even that, even this idea that Columbus discovered America, even that's not true. There was also people living on the continental America, South America, North America, but none of these people are given credit for discovering America. But because of Columbus's pious credit, he is given all this glorification, and he's still famous for this today. Similarly, Lord Brahma, because of his qualification and because of his pious karma, he has been given the post as the creator of the entire universe, and he has been made famous all throughout the material world as being the father, the ultimate creator of everything. And for this reason, he's always glorified as almost being like God. He's almost on the same level as God. But those who are in knowledge and those who understand the nature of the absolute truth, they can see that Lord Brahma is actually only acting on behalf of a superior person who is Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna, he provides all of the ingredients which are necessary for Lord Brahma to create the material world. Whenever modern scientists and everything, they might be very proud that they can create some kind of like something that tastes like watermelon, even though there's no watermelon in it, or something that, even like test tube babies, they become very proud whenever they can create some kind of life. They're saying that they create life by getting a seed and getting water and making the conditions right so that the seed can grow into a living plant or something like this. And these things appear to be very extraordinary, but we see that they're actually happening automatically in this material world. I think I read somewhere that that during the space expeditions, the original space expeditions by NASA, they spent like $1.5 million or something developing a pin which is able to write in zero gravity, because I guess, or zero air pressure or something like that, because I guess a pin can only work whenever there's air pressure or gravity or something like that. So they developed a space pin that they could bring up to while they're in the spaceship, and they can like write down on paper. And they spent so much money on this thing. And then I think it was like some like funny internet thing that I was reading, but it said, and like this whole time, all they really had to do was bring a pencil, and then the pencil can write anywhere. It doesn't need this. So all of these endeavors are completely useless, because there's always naturally a whenever these people endeavor to create like a flying machine or something like that, it comes nowhere near the expertise as the creation of like a bird or like a butterfly or something like that. And even today, they're making drones, and they're even trying to make these robotic bees which can pollinate flowers, because there's like the bees are going extinct or something like that. So they're studying the tendons and all the intricate parts that are moving in the insect's wings in order to create a drone which can imitate the flight of an insect or a bird or something like this. So they might be very proud of creating an airplane or a rocket ship or something like this, but no intelligent person will admit that their creation is better than that of God's creation. No intelligent person can say that our airplane is actually flying much better than the birds in the sky, because our airplanes are always crashing and burning. The engines are failing. So many things are going wrong, and they're always having to improve them over time. But you'll see that the birds, their wings are perfect. They're exactly aerodynamic. They never hit each other while they're in the sky. They never crash land. They never blow an engine or anything like that. And there's actually of course there's problems in the material world, but you'll see that in the natural creation of everything, there's way less problems than whenever one tries to separately endeavor to create. And this is because all of the living entities, the bodies which every living entity is embodied in, is created by Lord Brahma. Every single different species is created at the beginning of the cosmic manifestation, and then these souls enter into these different species according to their previous karma. And each and every one of these species is directly created under the guidance of the Paramatma, directly created under the guidance of the Supreme Lord himself. And you can see that there's patterns in nature nature where you can, it's almost like a signature of God. There's this thing called the Fibonacci sequence, which probably most of us have heard of, that is like a mathematical, when you observe different objects in nature, there's almost a mathematical formula which is being followed in the creation of these different things. And it's the same thing in plants and in animals and, you know, in rocks and in different structures of the molecules and things like this. All pervading throughout the universe, there's almost a signature by which the creator has left his mark. And you can see a very distinct difference between something which has been naturally created by God and something which has been artificially created by man. And those things which are created by God are generally very beautiful, and they're very harmonious with other things around it. They're not infringing upon anything else. They're not causing problems. It's very natural. But those things which are created by man, first of all, they're very ugly. They're, you know, in nature you have all these nice curves and different design aspects like that. But whenever man creates something, he creates like a big skyscraper that's just like a big rectangle and is just like sitting there. And, you know, it's causing so many different problems with like the erosion of the ground, and all of these resources have to be exploited from different parts of the world, all brought together just to create some big ugly tower. But, you know, Lord Krishna, inspiring Lord Brahma, has created so many beautiful things in this material world. And, you know, we can understand that if this material world is so beautiful and so perfect in almost every single way, we can understand that the spiritual world must be so much more beautiful. That this is just a perverted reflection of actually Krishna's spiritual creative energy, which is always increasing the love of his devotees and always increasing the field of his pastimes. And this material world is very limited, and it's very, you know, it's what is that? It's been perfectly created to be imperfect. And in every single way, you'll see in the material universe that everything is perfectly designed to fulfill its purpose. And what is the purpose in this material universe? It's ultimately to bring people back to Godhead. It's meant to facilitate their sense gratification to a certain extent, but ultimately the purpose of it is to fudge their material desires. It's to make them frustrated, and ultimately it's a field by which devotees can come and preach to the conditioned souls as well. So in the material world, everything is perfectly designed to where there's like a self-destruction or something like that. And in a recent lecture, His Holiness Bhaktivikas Swami, he said that the birthday should be called the death day, because right when one is born, then death is also coming along with that. So everything that is created in this material universe, you have to understand that it's at some point in time, it's going to have to be destroyed as well. So this is the inspiration of the Paramatma, that Lord Brahma was able to create such a complex universe, and he was empowered in such a way. And you know, Prabhupada is explaining that for one who is devoted to the Supreme Lord, whether he is a pure devotee or whether he has tinges of material desire, he is empowered by the Supreme Lord to accomplish those desires, whether his desire is pure or whether his desire is impure. And this is seen in so many different cases in the Bhagavatam, and also in the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita. And Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Tasmat tvam utishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhunksha rajyam samriddham mayaivate nihitaf purvameva nimitta matram bhava savyasachin. The translation isn't given. I'll just pull it up real quick. 11:33. So the translation is, therefore, get up, prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Savyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. So this is explaining how Lord Krishna uses his devotees as instruments to fulfill his desire or to accomplish his work in this material world. Lord Krishna is never at any point in touch with the material energy. He's never at any point directly involved with any of the activities going on in the material world. But through his representatives, he accomplishes so many different things. And whenever he incarnates personally, although he appears in this material world, he's not affected by the material energy. So both him and his representatives, they accomplish so many different things in this material universe. In fact, everything that's going on, all movements and all activities are only going on by the sanction of the Supreme Lord. I think Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavad Gita that not a single blade of grass can move without the sanction of the Supreme Lord. So similarly, Krishna's desire is something which is infallible. Nobody nobody's desire can supersede that of Krishna's. Krishna's desire is something which will always be successful, whereas our desires are generally unsuccessful unless they are in parallel with Krishna's desire. So Krishna's desire is that all of the warriors on the battlefield of Kurukshetra would die. So therefore, they were practically already dead. These people were practically already dead. It was just a matter of time between, a matter of time until they were actually dead. So therefore, they're more or less just already dead. So Lord Krishna is trying to explain this to Arjuna, that if you just act as my instrument and kill these warriors on the battlefield, you will actually get the credit of killing them. And already they're dead. Already by my arrangement, they will die somehow or other. But if you act as my servant in this regard, then you will actually get the credit for this. And Lord Krishna, just as the devotees are always eager to offer credit to Lord Krishna is always eager to give credit to his devotees. And it's like a transcendental competition which is always going on. So Arjuna was advised to become an agent to act under the desire of Lord Krishna. And this is what actually every single living entity is instructed to do. Specifically from the Vedic instructions, every single living entity is said to be the eternal servant of Lord Krishna. And what does this mean? It doesn't just mean that understanding this, you just continue to live your life however you want. It means that as a servant, you should be willing to fulfill the orders of the person who you are serving. So as servants, we are meant to transform our desires to that being the same as the desires of the Supreme Lord. And those who have developed this service attitude, they are given so much empowerment by the Supreme Lord. Arjuna was given empowerment to kill every single warrior on the battlefield, even though he was said to be just a fig in comparison to Bhishma Dev. That actually all these warriors were so much more powerful. They were senior to him in all regard. At least one of them was his direct teacher. He literally taught him how to fight. So in this way, he's considered to be much greater like that. But because Lord Krishna was on his side and because Lord Krishna was giving him empowerment, he was able to conquer anything and everything. And you'll see later on, whenever Krishna left, Arjuna, all of Arjuna's power also left along with Krishna, because his whole purpose was already fulfilled. The purpose of empowering Arjuna to kill everyone in the battle of Kurukshetra was already fulfilled. So what's the use of him having that power anymore? So similarly, in many different cases, devotees are given empowerment to perform a certain task, and then whenever that task is completed, then you'll see almost like magically they can't perform such a thing ever again unless Lord Krishna wants them to. So this is another instance of Lord Krishna empowering his devotee to do something amazing. Of course, we can understand that Lord Brahma's empowerment to create the whole universe is arguably the most amazing thing that we can conceive of. We can't even imagine what it would be like to be able to create anything from nothing. And that's practically what Lord Brahma did. From an unmanifest state, the material energy was manifest by the expertise of Lord Brahma. And this is something that we cannot even imagine to do without being empowered by the Lord. And similarly, we should feel that in all of our activities in life in general, but specifically in our service to Krishna, we should feel that this isn't possible for me to do unless Krishna empowers me to do it. You know, we have these orders to distribute as many books as possible, 1,000 Bhagavatams a day or something like that. And it sounds completely impossible. You know, if somebody told you create an entire universe, you'd think it's completely impossible. But by the empowerment of Krishna, the impossible becomes possible. And you know, we've seen it in just the very brief history of Krishna consciousness in the Western world, how book distribution has completely expanded to unprecedented levels where, you know, before, to distribute one hardbound maha big book in the streets was like a huge thing. They would come back to the temple and be like, somebody got a Krishna book today. They'd be like, what, a Krishna book? You know, they were selling like pamphlets, they were giving out, you know, different like flyers and magazines and things like this. But to distribute a hardbound book was like a really big thing. And nowadays, devotees all around the world are distributing so many hardbound books. What to speak of one hardbound books, they're distributing them in big packs. And what to speak of big packs of books, they're distributing entire sets of Prabhupada's books. So just in this brief history of the Krishna consciousness movement in the West, we've already seen exponential increase in this book distribution. And we can understand that this is because of the desire of Krishna, because Lord Chaitanya desires that this movement is spread all around the world. Whenever living entities present themselves as instruments to be used in his service, he empowers them accordingly. And according to how much one is surrendered to the Supreme Lord, he is empowered accordingly. What's that verse in Bhagavad Gita? That according to one's surrender unto me, I empower him. And so this is explained to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. And this is something which can be generally seen amongst the society of devotees, that those who are very advanced, those who are very surrendered, those who are very sincere in their service, they're always doing so many magnificent things. They're always doing so many inconceivable things, and they're always being glorified for revolutionizing this aspect of Krishna consciousness or pioneering this aspect of Krishna consciousness. And this is all due to the empowerment of Lord Krishna. And when one becomes qualified to receive such empowerment, it means that he is humble enough to have the responsibility of this power. And, you know, there's this very famous saying, with great power comes great responsibility. And I remember, I think that's like Spider-Man or something like that, where, you know, he's been given this, like, this power, but he could very easily become a supervillain, but he becomes a superhero. He wants to use it to help people. But this power that he has could very easily be used against people. It could be used to hurt people. So similarly, whenever a conditioned living entity is empowered by the Supreme Lord to do amazing things, if he doesn't recognize where this power is coming from, and he gets puffed up thinking that I'm the cause of this power and I'm actually the powerful, then he'll fall down. And this is what we're doing life after life after life. We're going up to the heavenly planets, down to the hellish planets, and the earthly planets, and everything like this. And each and every life, we're thinking, you know, I'm the best donkey. I can pull the cart. I can pull the most weight on the cart. Or I'm the best demigod. I can make the most rain fall on these people. Or I'm the you know, even in the hellish planets, we're thinking, you know, I'm actually enjoying, even though I'm being tortured so much. So like this, the living entity who is not pure in their desires, they don't recognize where their power is coming from. And Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, the what is it? Paurusham nirshu rasoham. What is the beginning? Is that rasoham apsukontiya prabhasmi shashi suryaho pranava sarva vedeshu shabda ke paurusham nirshu, that he is the ability in man, and of course the balam balavatam shaham, that he is the strength and the strong, and tejasvinamaham, that he's the power and the powerful, more or less. And so this is explained by Krishna. And for one who doesn't understand this, he falls down. For one who doesn't understand that Krishna is the source of all of their power, he'll get puffed up and intoxicated with material pride and prestige and things like this. And naturally he'll fall down, because he'll develop an offensive mentality towards Krishna, towards the other living entities, towards the devotees, which is something which is very, very dangerous. So anyways, for a devotee, he considers it to be Krishna's mercy upon him whenever he is completely bereft of all material qualifications. Many times whenever a devotee is coming in the association of devotees, they're, getting into Krishna consciousness. They might be coming from a very affluent background. Their family might be rich. They might have all of the material things that they need. They might have a girlfriend. They might have a nice car. They might have all these different things. But it's very common for devotees who are starting to surrender to the process of Krishna consciousness for Krishna to forcibly take these things away from them. Take away their girlfriend, take away their car, take away all their money. And the devotees see that this is actually the mercy of Krishna. And on the other end of that spectrum, the devotees also see that whenever Krishna is blessing them with so many material facilities by which they can use to spread the Krishna consciousness movement, they're also thinking this is the mercy of Krishna. But for one who doesn't fully realize that Krishna is the source of that power, then it's very easy for them to misuse this. Back in the day when Prabhupada was present, the ISKCON was raising millions and millions of dollars. They were opening temples all around the world. They had so many devotees. It was practically like free labor. These devotees would come. They wouldn't take any salary. They would just surrender their whole lives, give everything on the streets, and collect Lakshmi to be used at the temple. Some of that Lakshmi would be sent over to Mayapur and things like this. And so much Lakshmi was being raised, but whenever those who were conditioned by the material energy, whenever they tried to exploit these things, we see that so many problems started coming about in the society of devotees. So for this reason, Krishna, he puts qualified people in posts of responsibility. And in those posts of responsibility, there's lots of power. And whenever there's a qualified person in that post, this is it's something which is conducive for Krishna consciousness. It's something which is favorable for the execution of Krishna consciousness. But whenever one is not qualified to be in such a post, it is unfavorable for Krishna consciousness, and it's a cause for anxiety for all of the living entities in the world. It's a great cause of violence. And we'll see this in the case of Hiranyakashipu, of Ravana, who usurped the position of the demigods, who usurped this position of responsibility, of great power, of great respect, and they usurped this position and used it for their own sense gratification. And for everyone that tries to do this, their ultimate end is death. These were very great demons who were personally killed by Krishna, but we're very small demons who are just trying to enjoy, some boga or some Lakshmi or something like that, who will get smashed by the material energy. We're not so important that Krishna will come to personally kill us. But the principle is still there, that one who tries to misuse this empowerment which is given by Krishna, he will ultimately fall down. He will ultimately become smashed by the material energy. So therefore, it's important to surrender to Krishna and to engage in service which is favorable to him, which is according to his desire. And this is up for debate. What a lot of people think is that it's up for debate. Okay, I think that Krishna wants to wear green today, but you think that Krishna wants to wear yellow today. Because I want Krishna to wear green, then I'm going to make Krishna wear green. But if you according to sadhu, guru, and shastra, and according to also indications of the Paramatma, then we can understand what is the desire of Krishna. And at a neophyte stage, if we're thinking that Paramatma is giving us indications, and then we're acting spontaneously on these indications without actually understanding whether or not these are factual indications of Krishna or not, then we can actually just only be acting on the mental platform. And we can make a very big show of performing devotional service and being very spontaneous and doing all these things. We can make a very big show of it, but if it's not pleasing to Krishna, then the real fruit of this devotional service, which is developing love of God, will never arise in one's heart. So for this reason, it's important to be very well versed in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and it's also very important to consult with other devotees whether or not something is right or wrong. In my personal experience, I remember thinking, I came in the association of devotees, and I was invited to stay in the association of devotees, but my mind was like dragging me out at every given moment, and I was looking for any opportunity for some kind of indication where it would seem like Krishna actually doesn't want me to be in the association of devotees. Krishna wants me to go out and enjoy in the material world, and whenever an opportunity is presented like that, whenever an opportunity is presented for you to leave the association of devotees, to engage in some kind of mundane activity for your own enjoyment or something like this, whenever that opportunity has arisen, if one is thinking, oh, this is the desire of Krishna, this is the Paramatma from within my heart is telling me that I should do like this, I really feel like Krishna wants me to do like this. But if that is not in line with the conclusion of the Shastras, and that is not in line with the conclusion of Guru and Vaishnavas, then we can understand that we're merely acting on the mental platform. We're merely acting in such a way where we can satisfy our own senses. And this is the distinction between very exalted devotees and very neophyte devotees. That exalted devotees, they can distinguish reality from illusion, and they can ultimately distinguish what is the indication of Krishna's desire from within their heart, and what is the forces of Maya acting upon oneself or acting upon others, acting in the material world. And there are many different cases where devotees who are directly in touch with Krishna can understand Krishna's desire from within their own heart. And, this divya jnana is awakened within the pure devotee. And practically the Supreme Lord, who is acting as the spiritual master from within his heart, is inspiring him in all different activities of devotional service. He's not speculating. He's not cooking, thinking, oh, I really like whenever my sabji is super salty, so Krishna must like it too. Or he might feel, actually I should probably add some sugar in this, or whatever. And but if this isn't actually the indications of Paramatma, and this is actually just the pullings of one's senses, then one's so-called devotional service is actually something which is unfavorable. And this is something which is on the material platform, which is temporary, and is not actually awarding one the highest benefit. So the what is recommended by Srila Prabhupada is that one should study the psychic effects of thinking, feeling, and willing. He says an intelligent man, which means one who is acting on the platform of intelligence, should be able to see the activities of the mind, the activities of thinking, feeling, and willing, and they should see whether or not these are favorable for the execution of Krishna consciousness or unfavorable, and they should consult with devotees to see whether or not these things are actually in accordance with the scriptures and in accordance with the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And in this way, one can actually acting on the platform of intelligence, one can distinguish between the desire of one's the perverted desire of one's mind and senses, and the pure desire of Paramatma, the pure desire of Guru and Krishna. So this takes a great level of purification, and this purification is something which is easily overcome for one who is something which is easily accomplished for one who is very surrendered to Krishna. And one might make so many different mistakes in the beginning, but because of this sincerity and because of their willingness to act as on behalf of Krishna, then Krishna helps them in all respects. And this is seen in so many different cases. And another important thing to understand is that even if a devotee is given the opportunity to perform something which he may think is a great service to his spiritual master or to Krishna, he doesn't act on that until he is given confirmation. He doesn't act on that until he is given confirmation by the spiritual master or by Krishna. And this is seen whenever Hanuman goes and finds Sita in Lanka, and it's said that he was powerful enough to conquer all of the warriors in Lanka. He was powerful enough to conquer Ravana, and he could just take Sita and take him back to Rama just like that. But he held himself. One might think, oh, this would be a very great service to Rama, because Rama's he's going through so much anxiety. He's making so many arrangements to go and save Sita. Hanuman has found her, and he's capable of saving her right then and there. But because he did not have the indication or the confirmation of Lord Rama, then he did not act on that impulse. And ultimately, he wanted to to consult with Guru and Krishna before acting on this, and ultimately he wanted to offer all of the glory of rescuing Sita to Lord Rama. So this is the mood of a devotee, and also in so many other cases, the devotees, they according to the indication of Paramatma and consultation with other Vaishnavas, they act or do not act in their Krishna consciousness. And this is we should come from a level of just acting mechanically, setting your alarm, waking up at 4 a.m, going, taking a shower, brushing teeth, reading the prayers, doing this, chanting Hare Krishna on your beads, you should be able to come from doing these things mechanically and actually begin to understand how Lord Krishna is being pleased by your service and how Lord Krishna is inspiring you in your service. And for a very advanced devotee, they're always in communication with the Paramatma. They're always actually in communication with the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is one of the most famous instances of this is with Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and his writing the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that the devotees, they saw a need for the later pastimes of Lord Chaitanya to be described in literature form, and they were looking for a qualified devotee, and they saw that to be Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So they asked him to do this. He didn't feel qualified himself, but by the indication of Sri Madan Mohan, when a garland fell from their neck, he and all of the other devotees around, they saw that as an indication that this was the desire of the Supreme Lord. So it wasn't that he, by his own scholarly powers or something like that, he didn't go off and write a book about Lord Chaitanya whimsically and do it on his own accord. He went through the process of actually being blessed by the other Vaishnavas and being confirmed by the Supreme Lord himself. Same thing with Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, who is a direct disciple of Nityananda Prabhu, and Nityananda Prabhu had already left the world. So he wasn't personally present in that same form, but Chaitya Guru, Nityananda Prabhu being manifest as Paramatma, inspired him to write the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And actually an interesting thing is that even though Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was blessed and was empowered by the Lord to write this Chaitanya Charitamrita, even within that Chaitanya Charitamrita, he writes that, actually, I'm not qualified to write on the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. That person who is qualified is Vrindavan Das Thakur. And, like this is the humble mood of the devotees. Same thing Lord Brahma is doing right here. He's created such a expansive, complex, beautiful, dynamic, material universe, but he's still offering all of the credit to the Supreme Lord Krishna. And this is the mood of the devotees, and one who is acting on this platform, one who has perfect knowledge of not only himself, of super soul, and of the material nature. That person is considered to be a dhira. That person is considered to be one who is sober and who can act according to the desire of Lord Krishna. That person is considered to be one who is qualified to become an instrument in the service of Lord Krishna. And such a person is given all blessings and is given all empowerment to do many amazing things. What is this? That the blind man can see, or the dumb man can speak, and mukam kroti vachalam pangam lam khayate garim yad kripa tamaham bande Shri Gurum dinataranam paramanana madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So that a lame man can cross a mountain, basically like saying that a man who can't walk can climb up Mount Everest by the mercy of Guru, by the mercy of Krishna. And a man who can't talk, they can speak very eloquent, poetic verses like this by the mercy of Krishna. And in so many different cases in history, recorded in the Bhagavatam, recorded in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, and also recorded in recent history since the Krishna consciousness movement has spread to all around the world. There are so many different instances of devotees who have been empowered to do extraordinary things. And there are also instances where devotees have been empowered to do extraordinary things, and then the moment that devotee slips up, the moment that devotee stops recognizing where that is coming from, everything is taken away from him. So that's also there. Same thing can happen with Lord Brahma, but he's a pure devotee. And actually, every single living entity in the whole world, not just the devotees, are being empowered to perform their various activities. The bodies which they are given, the time, place, and circumstance which they are being born into, Lord Krishna is empowering them with the ability to enjoy separately from him. And he does this negligently. He doesn't want to do this, but it's the same thing as like a loving father or a loving mother or something like that. They give the child freedom, and according to what that child wants to do, they can love or they cannot love the parents. Nonetheless, there are certain restrictions that are set. There are certain laws of nature that one just cannot physically exceed. There are, like birth, death, old age, and disease. These are limitations that are always there in the material world. It's like whenever you're 16 years old, your parents buy you a car, you get your driver's license, but you have to be home by 10 p.m. This is similarly, Lord Krishna, he gives us so much freedom, but he also sets parameters by which we can't stray too far, because of that bond of affection that Krishna has for us. He always keeps his devotional service readily available to us, specifically in this human form of life. And but in all other forms of life, Lord Krishna is empowering every single species to perform their respective activities. What is this we were talking about yesterday? The dharmo tapapa nichaya shrutayas tapangsi brahmadi kita patagavadayascha jiva yaddatta matra vibhava prakata prabhava govindamadi purusham tamahang bhajami. That I'll just pull it up because specifically in this verse, we're talking about the how every single living entity, from Lord Brahma all the way down to the tiny ant, their source of power is coming from Krishna, and he is empowering them to perform their different activities. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, by whose conferred power are maintained the manifested potencies that are found to exist, of all virtues, of all vices, the Vedas, the penances, and all jivas, from Brahma to the meanest insect. And I think in this purport, right, every one of them, so we're talking about all the different jivas in every single species of life. Every one of them is endowed with distinctive powers as individuals and is powerful in a particular sphere. But these powers are by their nature not fully developed in them. The degree of power and nature of property vary according to the measure of manifestation of the possessions of the individual conferred upon him by Sri Govinda. So you'll see, in the human form of life, we take much pride in being very intelligent and being able to invent things and write things and communicate in so many different languages and things like this. But, we in all other regards, there's so many other animals and lower species which are superior to us in many regards. Like so many of these big guys, they want to be like really, really strong. They get big muscles and things like that. But if you put them up against a gorilla or like a hippo or like an elephant or something like that, they'll just get crushed, like no problem. Similarly, even an ant can like lift like 1,000 times its own body weight, and Lord Krishna is, according to these particular specialized functions, and according to the conditioned soul's desire, he's put into a specific body by which the Supreme Lord empowers him to fulfill those desires. So, the hawk, their eyes, they can see so much better than the human beings. The dog can smell so much better than the human being's nose. The birds are flying without any use of machines or anything like that. Yet we're so puffed up thinking that we're so powerful, we're so intelligent, we're so beautiful. While even like lower animal species of life are superior to us in so many respects, in beauty and strength, and renunciation. The monkeys are living out in the forest, not wearing any clothes, like this, but in the human form of life, we're specifically endowed with the great fortune of being able to participate in Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. And specifically in this time and place that we're currently in, there's a lot of mercy flowing down from the Guru Parampara by which we can tap into and become a pure instrument in the service of Krishna. And just how Lord Brahma has created so many amazing things in his service to Krishna, we can also be used as an instrument to perform so much devotional service on behalf of Krishna and on behalf of the Guru Parampara. And in this way, we ourselves will also go down in history like all these great devotees that we're reading about in Bhagavatam. You know, like just like 20, 30 years ago, we're still talking about so many of these great devotees who did so many amazing things for Srila Prabhupada. During Prabhupada's time, he had so many amazing devotees. Just recently, we had the disappearance day of Jayananda Thakur, and we were talking about all of the wonderful things that he did. And you know, so many devotees, even right now as we're speaking, are doing tremendous service for Srila Prabhupada's movement. And these souls who have completely surrendered unto the desire of the Paramatma within their heart, and who have completely surrendered themselves as being instruments in the service of their spiritual master, these people are actually successful. These people are never actually destroyed in any way. What is the... anyways, declare it boldly, O Arjuna, that my devotees never perish. So this is by following in the footsteps of Lord Brahma, who happens to be our Sangstapaka Acharya, the founding Acharya of our Sampradaya. We can follow in this same mood. And even though if we are empowered by the Supreme Lord to perform our respective services, we should always remember where this is coming from. This is coming from the mercy of Guru. This is coming from the mercy of Krishna. And we should behave accordingly. We should always consider where our power is coming from. You know, and what is this? That the spiritual life is like a razor's edge. It's very easy to fall off on either side and get cut. But if we stay firmly situated in our service to our spiritual master, and if you just simply follow the basics, then you can't possibly go wrong. If you're thinking, oh, you know, I know Prabhupada said a lot of things about how much he wanted book distribution in his books, but you know, I think I got an indication from Prabhupada in my heart or in a dream or something that he actually wants me to be a rock star, to go and travel around and do like rock music about Krishna or something like that. So if we just stick to the basics, if you just go out and distribute books, then all success is guaranteed. Just simply distribute many, many books and all success is guaranteed. So Lord Brahma, he stuck to the basics. Of course, his service was not very basic. It was very complicated. His service was very, very complex, and it took much inspiration from Lord Krishna from within his heart to empower him to do such an amazing service of creating an entire universe. But even in very simple services like cleaning the floors, doing kirtan, going and distributing books, cooking, things like this, all of these we should feel very dependent upon the mercy of Guru, Vaishnava, and Krishna. And we should perform our service in this mood, which is being set as the standard from Lord Brahma himself. So there are definitely other points that was made in this purport, but yeah, we can finish there. And if anyone has any comments, questions, refutations, then we can speak about that. Oh, it's later than I thought. Fine. Anybody?
Sadhu, sadhu.
Oh, that was on. Anything from the Matajis?
You mentioned Srila Prabhupada saying that one should study the psychic nature of the feelings, thinking. and willing. Is that equivalent?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
You mentioned about Srila Prabhupada saying that one should study like the psychic nature of the feelings, thinking and willing. What does that mean?
Yeah, so the activities of thinking, feeling, and willing are performed by the mind, and if one is acting on the mental platform, it means that whatever he's thinking, feeling, and willing, he will do. But if one is acting on the platform of intelligence, which is above the mind, then he can see the activities of the mind and he can distinguish whether or not this is favorable for my Krishna consciousness or unfavorable for my Krishna consciousness, which means that one should be elevated to at least the platform of intelligence, which means not just whimsically acting on the mental platform. Ultimately, it means understanding the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, understanding that you're not the body, understanding that according to the association of the three modes of material nature, the mind and the senses are drawn to perform different activities. For one who is intelligent, for one who is acting on the intelligent platform, they can see the pullings of this of the material energy, and they can act accordingly. They can draw it back in. Just there's this verse in the Bhagavad Gita that to draw in the senses like a tortoise draws in like the limbs of the body. Similarly, one who is acting on the platform of intelligence, whenever the mind is going out of the realm of pure devotional service, he can see this, and this intelligence is something which is coming from Krishna. This specifically in execution of Krishna conscious devotional activities, it's by the mercy of Krishna that we're able to see this. Because when you're in Maya, you don't really see that you're in Maya, you know. So yeah, the thinking, feeling, and willing are referring to the mind, and specifically he's saying an intelligent man. It means that he's acting on the platform of intelligence. He's not being forced to act by the mind. Is that okay? Anything else from the Mataji? Yes. Did you have something on that point? Oh, you can go.
My question is based on trying to understand what piety was. I think I have a misunderstanding because you were saying that Brahma has had the greatest piety and then the greatest material desires. I didn't understand how piety, I guess, and material.
Yeah, so piety can more or less be like translated as qualification after performing service to God, and you know, this doesn't necessarily mean that they have performed pure devotional service with like the you know, the main activities of Krishna consciousness, hearing, chanting, remembering, things like this. But even you know, specifically in Vedic culture, piety means following the Vedas, following the prescriptions of the Vedas. So even one who isn't worshiping Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is worshiping demigods or something like this, he can accrue lots and lots of piety simply by following the process which is given in the Vedas. Being a member of the Varnashram society more or less means elevating one's piety, just simply by being a member of such a society. So yeah, piety doesn't necessarily mean spiritual, but you can have like lots of material piety by doing sacrifices, giving in charity, feeding the homeless people, donating to this charity, that charity. These things are pious. These things are helping people. These people are children of God. So in some way we're serving God like that. But the ultimate thing to consider is that piety is not a qualification for pure devotional service. It can get you a higher or lower material position, but it's not like the spiritual qualification. It's not like the adhikar of a devotee. That is only one's spiritual qualification is only based on one's faith in Krishna. According to one's faith, that's how advanced they are in Krishna consciousness. You had something, Prabhu?
So that thinking, feeling, and willing, it's expressed in the last line of the purport, which is it the whole class that can just be given on that one line. The subtle presence of the Lord is felt by the intelligent man who can understand the psychic effects of thinking, feeling, and willing.
Yeah, I know, like, personally, it's difficult to distinguish whether or not, like, something is Krishna's desire, or if that's my desire. But the ultimate thing to consider is whether or not this is meant to satisfy my senses or is meant to satisfy Krishna's senses, in essence. And on book distribution, it's like a lot of times you're like kind of being like directly guided by Paramatma. And like so many times, this is something I forgot to mention, but so many times on books, it's like you'll meet somebody who in no time, no circumstance, for any reason would be in that place right then and right there. And you would never also be in that place right then and right there. But somehow Paramatma has arranged things in such a way that they get books. Like people come to the airport and they're like, oh my God, I missed my flight. They're like crying, oh my God. And then you go and meet them, and actually, I always like to tell them, actually, everything happens for a reason. Like this is why you came here, like that. But it happens all the time. And on books, you don't know whether to turn right or left. You don't know if I should talk to that person or that person. But for one who is not acting on the mental platform and who is just doing his service on the intelligent platform, he's guided by Super Soul directly. So yeah. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.